Friends, Fever fans, welcome back to another episode of Fever Replay, brought to you once again by the love of the game. Because sometimes you just gotta do it for the love of the game. I'm your host, Chris Ord, and once again I am joined by the big cheese, Keisha Gallagher. Say hi, Keisha.
Hi, Keisha. Ooh, the big cheese.
The big cheese.
Yep, that's me.
It's one of your many monikers.
Mm-hmm. Con queso.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm exhausted. Me and my wife took 20 teens from her program camping, and I'm very tired. Everything hurts. But other than that, it was a great weekend. The Pacers are in the finals. I don't know if you've heard that. They're a male basketball team that also plays in my hometown here of Indy. And they're doing quite well. So this is a good time. This is a good time around here. So
Stay landlocked.
how was your weekend?
Another wonderful WNBA filled weekend. So I was thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Saw some good stuff. Saw some weird stuff. And some unfortunate injuries. But tis the game.
Well, let's do a quick little injury update, because last time we talked, we had our fair share of injuries. Almost, you could say, more than our fair share of injuries. The good news, Sydney Colson, she's back. We had her both games last week. She looks good. She looks fast. She looks spry, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to not be an issue at all. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, will not be joining us this week. We were hopeful that Caitlin Clark would be back. She, as of today, had just gotten reevaluated, and Coach Stephanie White said that she would not be playing on this upcoming game that, as of posting, would be tonight versus the Dream. Stephanie said, I don't know if cleared is the right word. I mean, she's ready to start ramping back up. But it's completely different when you're just doing one-on-one workouts and when you're out there 5-on-5, getting up and down the court, moving laterally. So she's been allowed to do some practicing, not everything. And we're going to be smart. We're going to be cautious. We're going to play the long game. So it sounds like Caitlin's doing great. Like if we were in a situation where we needed to rush her back in, maybe we would. But that's not where we're at. We won 2 games this week. We're feeling pretty good. We're just going to wait it out until Caitlin is feeling good and ready to come back. So that's mostly some pretty good news this week.
Yeah, and those 2 victories come to the Fever during the Commissioner's Cup, which is also fantastic news.
I'm a fan of the Commissioner's Cup in general. I'm a fan of basketball. And it's just another form of basketball, and I like it.
I mean, I think the prize is really the cream of the crop when it comes to competition. But yes, competition.
And for those who don't know, Keisha, assuming there's some people who don't know, what is the prize?
It is money. It is moolah. So the prize for the Commissioner's Cup is $500,000 for the team, in addition to a donation to a charity of their choice.
That's very cool. I like that a lot. And something that I think is a big driving factor for the women in the WNBA is money. Let's face it, they don't make a ton of money. The gals at the top, they can make a lot off of sponsorship deals. But, the bench, even some of the starters that are more role players than stars, they could use it. And I think this is a good motivation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it kind of seamlessly is a part of the regular season, so you don't have to really pay any extra attention. You just gotta stay tuned in. But so far for the Fever,
just sweetens the deal a little.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been playing well when it comes to those games. it is always unfortunate to have an injury or multiple injuries, but I think considering still pretty decent timing as far as injuries are concerned, and the team has responded. I mean, the response from the team continues to impress me. They could easily kind of roll over at this time and just allow things to unravel, but I feel like they have seen a lot of improvement and a lot of people stepping up from the bench.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. One thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Commissioner's Cup before we move into the games is I don't know what your thoughts are. I know neither you nor I have any say in how they run things at the WNBA, but what are your thoughts on if instead of playing for a pot, which as we've already talked about, I think is a good motivating factor, will make people play a little harder. What if they could play for like extra cap space? I've always thought that was interesting. Like I like a lot of the like European football model of when they play in a tournament, they get money as a team and then they use that money to pay players. They don't have salary caps over there, so it's a whole different thing. But I always thought it'd be interesting if you play, you win a tournament, and that means like next year you get a little bump in your salary cap. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think that could be kind of cool, but the structure of the WNBA, I think that's also a dangerous route to go considering the types of cuts you can see.
It is. It's so dangerous. But isn't danger kind of fun to watch on television?
I thought we were doing this for the love of the game.
Sometimes the love of the game, a little bit dangerous.
You just spice it up.
Yeah. Sometimes the love of the game is a little bit spicy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed. I would love in general for the salary cap to be quite large or non-existent as well, but that is not the rules. Them's not the rules. And we continue to increase the number of teams, but we're not necessarily paying the players that much more. So I think that also creates a bit of an issue as far as actually getting more in that cap.
All right, Keisha. So I'll be signing my strongly worded letter to the commish alone, I guess, is what you're saying.
I mean, you could put my name on it, just like kind of smudge it maybe at the end.
Okay. Keisha, kind of like that.
Yeah, that's how.
All right,
people
one
should
other
read
thing
it.
I want to talk about. Ari McDonald. Fantastic. We signed her. We talked a lot last week about having that hardship contract. And she's who we signed. And she's fantastic. One thing I really enjoyed watching in the Mystics game was just how it was very clear the team was all there to support Ari. They knew that she'd kind of been thrown in last minute. I don't know if they'd met her, how long before the game, if they ever got to practice or not. But you could tell, like, there were times where she'd just be kind of going crazy and it wouldn't go that well. And she'd look over at the bench and the bench was like, "You're doing good. Keep it up, Ari." They're like, "We just need a point guard of any kind. You're great." And it was fun to see that. But it was even more fun to see how Ari fits seamlessly into our team. She pushes the pace. She's aggressive on defense. She's got a great three-point shot. Oh, boy. I like her. What do you like her, Keisha?
Big fan. Very big fan. I was actually surprised. I can't remember what team she was originally on now. There's just too many notes in front of me. But she was one of the players I was surprised who was cut. So I'm not shocked at all to see her finding a groove. I do think that she fits really well into the pace of play that the Fever are running, and she and Kelsey Mitchell complement each other really well.
I agree. Now, here's the follow-up question that we've been building towards. It is possible to keep her once we have more than 10 healthy players. We would have to sign her. The only way to sign her would be to waive someone else's contract. We don't have a lot of fat to cut, but we have Michaela Timpson, who is our newfound rookie, who, honestly, Seems like she could be something good. We should probably keep her and keep developing her. And then we have Bree Turner, who's fantastic but doesn't play that much. What are your thoughts? Would it be worth it to waive one of those two in order to pick up another guard once we have two guards getting healthy?
See, that's the tricky part of this team, is that this seems like a very easy answer considering how talented she is, how well she fits into the team. But how many guards do you need? What if this?
How many guards do you need?
What if the opposite were to happen next week? Knock on wood, where there
Agreed.
were 3 post players out, and then so I think in this circumstantial issue, it would make a lot of sense to have another guard because you just were really down 3 guards, or what felt like 3 guards. But do we need another guard to the point where you're willing to cut some of your bigs? Like, that's pretty tough.
Right. To review, right now on the roster, we have Caitlin Clark, Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, and, of course, Kelsey Mitchell. All of those are big pieces of our team. Every one of those people I named. The 2 people I put up on the chopping block, not big pieces, but big people physically. And if something were to happen to our big people, we would need one or both of them to step up in a big way. Does that mean if we were to really want airy, we get rid of Sydney Colson? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think if you really were going to get rid of someone, you would want to get someone off the bench who has the least amount of time on the court. That would make the most sense to me, because I don't think I'm in a position, considering the injuries we just saw, where I want to give up Sid. So, do you give up your rookie, who has the most potential, the youngest, the most spongy, absorbent potential, or another very talented big? Like, I honestly don't know. I feel like that's going to be a tough call. I know
it's not good podcast material, but nor do I, Keisha. Nor do I. But that is where my head is at, because I'm just really excited about Erin McDonald. She clearly knows what she's doing. She clearly fits in. She would be a wonderful person to put in when Caitlin Clark is out, which kind of leads me to Sid Colson. Sid Colson has done absolutely nothing wrong in my eyes this whole season so far. She steps into that role. She has some things that there's definitely a talent drop-off between her and Caitlin, but Sid is able to run the floor. She's able to distribute the ball. She clearly knows our offense. She's pretty savvy. It would be hard to lose her. But Ari's pretty cool. Keisha.
So are you feeling like you'd have to get rid of one of your bigs, or are you...
No, I think that you're right. We don't need to have 6 guards. I think that seems like a lot of guards.
I mean, I'd love to have them, but
yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, that is tough.
So another point, I guess, in the letter to the commish, more cap space so we can sign Ari. I'll just write that down right
That'll clearly sign myself.
You'll sign that one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the games. So on Tuesday, June 3rd, we played the Mystics, and we won, which, to remind you folks, was good, because we had lost the 3 previous games. We'd lost in a pretty spectacular fashion the first 2 games without Caitlin. But it seemed like we were building towards something, and it all kind of came to a head in this Mystics game, where it felt like we actually looked pretty good.
I agree. I think that was a really great team effort, and there were a few, I mean, in addition to McDonald stepping up as this player who I think got 1 shoot around and 1 practice in. I think she did a great job. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell was phenomenal in both of those games. Lexi Hull starting, I didn't know what that was going to look like, but she, of course, stepped up, was phenomenal on defense, on offense, and then I think you had two really big performances that looked very different on the court between Boston and Howard, because both were very important at different points. And then everyone who came off of the bench, I think, had a pretty strong impact, especially when it came to behind the arc these last couple games.
Yeah, at the halfway mark of that game, which is when we really started to sort of make our presence known, I felt like, on the court. We ended the half on a 9-0 run, which really put us going in the right direction. There was a couple stats that I found really interesting. Boston was 100% in the first half. Not a lot of shots. I wish I saw more shots out of her, but 100% is 100%. That's pretty darn good. Also, the plus-minus told a very interesting story. We saw Hull in the first half with a plus 10. And basically stats across the board. Like, she was just everywhere. She was doing everything. Hull continues to be just on a tear at the start of this year. Also, Aerie was a plus 4, and Coulson was a minus 6 in the first half. So if we're counting, that's 1 for her. I was really impressed by the team coalescing around this kind of brand new look. There's a lot of ways that you can handle changes, and I felt like they handled it in the best way, which is just supporting each other, playing really good team-oriented basketball.
I agree. I think that one of the big improvements overall was just seeing the ball movement, seeing those different players stepping up in different capacities. With the shooting percentage from Boston, she has to touch the ball more. I think we are more successful when the offense somehow is being run through that high-low, and it's an opportunity missed to see what the defense is going to respond with when you are utilizing Howard and Boston in those key spots. But I definitely thought the three-point shooting was really impressive considering how much Washington struggled in that first game. And then as far as giving up rebounds, it still wasn't great. But again, Kiki Iriafen is eating those boards up. But it was better than their other Mystics performances. I love a lot of rookies, but I mean, she just has stepped into this league and has performed and acts like she belongs here and has belonged here.
So we've been talking a lot about Lexi Hull this season, really, but to kind of put this game away, the push to like close this game really highlighted to me how Lexi has improved on like her finishing ability. She's always been scrappy. She's always had a good motor. She's one of the best three-point shooters, efficiency-wise, in the league right now. But her finishing has just gotten kind of nasty. Like, right as she's going up, she's doing little moves, she's doing little head fakes, it's fantastic to see. Because if you have somebody who's constantly driven like her and going to be hustling, and if they are just a hammer that's just going to slam into the defense again and again in the same exact way, it can get kind of predictable. But she has decided to develop in that way, and it's pretty dangerous to see and pretty exciting. In general, the close of this game, I just wrote down big girl close. I felt like the Mystic did not want to lose this. They were pushing back hard, and our team really held together, and we're like, no, we're going to put this game away. We're not going to survive the game. We're not going to eke out a win. We're going to put this game away, which is something that you just need to know that your team can do. And that inability to kind of put runs together that we were talking about with the last two games, not present. They were really able to sustain, and it was really great to see.
Yeah, I think they had really big third quarters in both of those games where it seemed at the half there was an urgency to keep that momentum going forward, to keep the pressure on, and I really like seeing that, especially coming off of those last few losses. But I mean, Lexi Hull had 13 or 14 points in that third quarter alone. She's just, yeah, there's a different beast from last season to Unrivaled to now. She has definitely, I mean, maybe one of my new favorite players. I love watching her play. She's doing
very
those,
exciting to watch. Extremely entertaining person to watch
on
play.
defense, she's always up in front on the ball. On offense, she's always running her little screens and back cuts. She is exciting to watch.
Okay, so speaking of that second game, we played the Sky on Saturday, June 7th. We smacked them around. It was a hosing. I don't know if that's a saying or not, but we hosed them.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
It didn't start off that way, though, interestingly. Like, watching the first half, we were winning. But it was like, oh, okay, like, hopefully we can continue this in the second half. It wasn't until the second half that things just kind of got completely
It was
out of hand.
that third quarter. That third quarter was another really big smackdown. But, I mean, I think in both of these games, some credit to the Fever would be that both the Mystics and the Sky, there were a lot of opportunities they continued to give to the Fever, whether it was turnovers, poor shot selection, poor use of shot clock, time management. The turnovers really went well for the Fever when it came to inbounds play or just fast break points, and I think that that's another real that deserves recognition and applause for the growth of that team over the course of the last few weeks, considering the amount of injury, considering adding those new pieces into their starting lineups. I'm excited to see what that means for these next series of games. When it comes to this specific game against the Sky, I think there was just I don't want to say professionalism because the Sky are just as talented, but it was like the Fever just had a flow. They seemed to be just a little tighter. And you saw that from the field with 45% field goal percentage shooting, 40% from the three, almost 41%. Free throws still are a bit of a struggle, but definitely better. They actually out-rebounded the Sky. They just looked really polished, I think might be the better word for it. And the Sky, unfortunately, just really lost it early on after Vandersloot got injured, and I just feel like they could not recover.
I agree. I think while there was a ton of good and a ton of credit that goes to the Fever, the Sky losing Vandersloot clearly had a huge effect on them. They seemed pretty lost, honestly, especially on offense. Their defense was not bad, certainly for the first half. Not bad. But on offense, they seemed to not fully understand what they're supposed to be doing out there without Vandersloot. And that makes perfect sense. You know, she's their floor captain out there, and it definitely hurt them. I think in the first half, I saw some things that I did want the Fever to improve upon, which luckily we got to see in the second half. AB almost got no touches in the first half. Like, literally, she had a basket early, and then I don't think she even touched the ball for 10 minutes of the first half, and it was very frustrating. Also, it felt like DB was kind of getting lost out there as far as even timing-wise. There were a couple plays back-to-back where there was an odd lack of hustle right before the shot clock ended. And I don't know what that was contributed to, but we seemed a little disjointed in the first half. It was a lot of it felt like we were winning because we were just winning the one-on-one matchups. Mm-hmm. The person with the ball was better than the person guarding them, at least in the first half. And then the engines started to slowly turn a little faster and faster until the second half was a whole different team, which is kind of nice to watch our team go from a kind of a sloppy first half into rhythm and into getting that ball moving around, starting to dish it out a little bit better. It's cool to be able to see our team be able to make those adjustments mid-game, especially in a situation where, because of personal reasons, we weren't able to have our head coach there. And to know that even with just our assistant coaching staff, which is very talented, and the players themselves, those adjustments could be made mid-game. Is something that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with Bonner. I feel like there are games where it's all the pieces are coming together, but they're just not consecutive. They seem like more like one-offs. So I don't know if it's her not starting or if it's her coming off the bench or if there's something else going on, but I feel like Howard's really figured out...
Shining. Really.
Yeah, has really figured out how to fit in with this lineup. I think can't talk about her enough, and Mitchell, those three in particular, I think this week is going to be another big opportunity for them to step up and continue to sharpen those skills, find that chemistry, figure out that particular flow that they're going to have while they're dealing with those injuries.
And then speaking kind of our bigs, Dantas looked fantastic. She did a great job of coming off the bench and kind of being that center of the offense on the top of the key in a similar way that Boston normally is, which allowed us to have a lot of continuity. She didn't have a ton of points. I think she only had 3 points. But her plus-minus was fantastic. And you could really feel it when she was out there that she was a central part of what we were trying to do on offense.
Well, didn't she hit 2 or 3 threes in the other game against the Mystics? I feel like her range is she's definitely got the post moves down and the mid-range is fantastic, but her showing that range is going to continue to make her so valuable coming off the bench. But yeah, I feel like she's been laser focused when it comes to the time she's getting.
And we've already touched on it, and I don't want this to be the Aerie McDonald show, but at the same time, crushed it. 50% from the field, 50% from three-point, 100% free throws, plus-minus of 19, 12 points. Oh, my goodness. Who are we getting rid of?
It's a great pickup.
Who are we getting rid of?
Are you prepared to get rid of your bigs, or you want to get rid of Sid? Because I feel like you're kind of leaning into the only real option is Sid, because you don't want to get rid of Lexi. I don't want to get rid of Lexi.
No, we're not getting rid of Lexi.
Cunningham off the bench, fireworks.
It feels like it's Sid. Sid is a great part of our team, honestly. That's the hardest part about that. To get rid of somebody who's doing what she's supposed to do with heavy minutes doesn't make any sense. And then you look at Bree Turner, who doesn't really play unless it's garbage time. But she's tall, and we need it. What if one of our other tall people gets hurt?
So you're saying Turner over Timpson?
But Timpson's the future. But maybe we don't need a future. Yeah. Maybe we just need now, tonight. I think there's a lot of songs out there that talk about maybe we just need tonight.
Oh, I thought you were going to go into a particular spoken word session, but I guess not tonight.
Not tonight. All right. So it was a good week of basketball. Before we go into this upcoming week, tonight, and looks like Saturday. Ooh, we get a nice little break in there. Let's just take a quick break. Hey, Fever fans. Do you have a section of your body that's really visible and you just want to make it a little more whimsical? Have you considered a tattoo? Not just any tattoo, but a tattoo with plants or little birds. Tattoos with plants or little birds are always a good idea. Want to have a consistent anchor for small talk when you order coffee? Tattoos with plants or little birds are the perfect icebreaker. Next time you want to spice up your elbow, consider tattoos with plants or little birds. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Keisha, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What should we expect from these two teams that we've seen several times already this weekend? Not this weekend. What should we expect from these two teams that we've seen several times this year? That's a real question. I don't know that we need your full breakdown, but what should we expect from these teams?
This is going to be, big time battles for a couple of reasons. We talk often a lot about how most of these teams are brand new. So we're seeing new lineups that we're not used to, new combinations. So that's always a struggle because it's hard to get a good scouting report. So I think that's kind of our biggest issue going into the Dream again, because there was a period of time when Griner was injured. Now she's healthy. So we're back to facing Breed Jones and Griner, two giants down low. We have Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard. You have Pow Pow coming off the bench. You have Maya Caldwell. It's a fast-paced team who's got a lot of height and a lot of strength. They could easily overpower us, but they don't want to fast break the same way that we do. So it's really going to be a battle of possessions and who's making the most responsible use of the time, I think. And then when it comes to the Liberty, they are undefeated. And they are stacked. Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, and I think we're seeing a combination between Natasha Cloud, Kennedy Burke, or Leonie Fibich. So they're going tall, they're going strong, and they're going seasoned. It's going to be tough. And that bench is deep.
So what you're saying is that they're due.
So you're saying there's a chance. I think that with the Fever, there's a lot of talent and another very deep bench, but those offensive rebounds that we continue to kind of struggle with, you cannot give those up and expect to beat Liberty. It's just not going to happen. The same with the Dream. You can't keep giving the tallest people in the court opportunities to score again. So if we're not cleaning up those O boards, if we're not limiting those turnovers, if we're not taking good use of our offensive possessions, it's going to be tough to pull out a W. But
do you think that we have trouble against these teams that are able to put up their bigs and grab these rebounds because we're so guard heavy on our roster? Do you think that's like part of our issue?
I think there is a combination of having too many guards, but also the type of post players that we have are not point forwards. They're true point. Like you have Jonquel Jones who can shoot from almost the half court, can handle the ball. The same with Brianna Stewart. Not to say that Boston and Howard can't handle the ball, but it's not a deep skill set as deep as Brianna Stewart, who grew up playing, running with a basketball while dribbling a mile, because that's the kind of person she is.
And I think probably another thing that we need is more out of Bonner. Like, I think she's supposed to be one of our tall, skilled people. And when she looks really great, we also look really great. And I think if we can find a way to get more out of Bonner, we're probably going to start looking better against these bigger, stronger teams.
Well, we have to give the ball to Boston.
That's true.
We can't have her. I mean, there were several games recently where we're looking at her shooting, and if she's not shooting threes and she's going 7 for 7 and she only shot those 7 shots in the first half or the second half, it's just not acceptable. That's not a good use of our offensive possessions if we're not getting it into someone who's drawing so much attention. If she's pulling 2 guards every time, that means someone's open. We got to use her.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your deep, deep knowledge and wisdom of the W to help us here in Fever Nation. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Fever Replay. Hope you guys have a good week. Hope the Fever are able to win both of these games, even versus the undefeated Liberty. And I hope Caitlin Clark comes back healthy and strong. Anyway, I hope you're all healthy and strong out there. Have a great week.
Bye.